Alright, this is Xavier from Team Peak Zenith coming at you with a... Oh, that's fun. Kagero deck profile. So this is the Overlord build, even though you can't necessarily tell by the starter, because all Kagero uses this starter. Lizard Soldier Conroe. So good that he was even banned back in the day. And he's also pre-Forerunner. He's just got the skill written out. When you ride on top of him with a Kagero unit, he will move out to the rear guard circle. And then his other skill is Counterblast 1, retire himself. He doesn't shove to soul like other starters. He retires himself, search your deck for a grade 1 or less, add it to hand. So he's really nice because he can search out like any pieces you need. Need a stride fodder? He's got you. If you need PG, got you there. He can get you your G guard if you really need it. He can search out the grade 1 Conroe because you need the right grade 3. He's just the best starter in all of Kagero, really. Moving on to grade 3s. 4 copies of the big bad boss himself. Dragonic Overlord, the Destiny. And this is just an amazing card. Like, his first skill is, when he rides, or at the start of your ride phase, you may Soul Blast 1. And if you do, you choose a card on the field, or just a circle, and then all the cards on that circle are sent to the drop zone. Of course, you can't choose Vanguard, because the Vanguard circle, because that would just be really broken. However, he gets around resist, he gets around lock. Like, if your opponent has a really annoying resist thing, you just send it away. If you have like your entire board locked, send one of your front row rear guards away, so that way you can call something there. And then his on stride ability is Counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it, and then check top 7 of your deck for an Overlord. If you find it, add it to hand, shuffle the rest back to deck. So he's really nice. He can get rid of 2 of your opponent's things every turn, or one of your own locked things and one of your opponent's dudes. And he gets you more Overlords in hand, which can be used for other card skills that require in hand, or for like to drop for a PG, so on and so forth. Currently, my backup is 4 copies of Dragonic Overlord, the Legend. He's solely just here because he's an Overlord. Like, I've never once used any of his skills. You never really want to ride him. He's just here because he's an Overlord. I don't I don't want to run the Legion. I think that makes the deck a little too clunky with too many grade 3s, even though a lot of Overlords would be nice. I personally would actually consider going with 4 copies of the End and no copies of the Cross, because the End is still like, if you end up going first and you have a lot of damage, you can just ride the End, swing a ton of times, and with using the grade 1 Conroe to refund his Counterblast cost if you actually used his Persona Blast skill, as well as to grab other copies. So I'm probably going to swap this out. Currently I'm running him because you really just need Overlords. That's pretty much it. Moving on to grade 2s. 4 copies of Glow Heater Dragon. He is a 10k with an effect. Really nice. He makes it so if your opponent tries to like rush you, they need a booster to hit, unless of course they have an effect that activates their own 10k. He does have the skill of when he is placed on the field, you may reveal a card from hand, and then if that card and or your Vanguard is not an Overlord, then he loses 5k. So every now and then I've been grade locked and I end up swinging with a 10k a column, him boosted by Conroe for a total of 10k. But then still during the opponent's turn, he'll be back up to a 10k base, which really helps with the counter rush. He's just really good overall. His other skill is continuous. When you're, if your Vanguard is a grade 4 with Overlord, it's an original card name. So only a Stride that is an Overlord. You can't use it with Ziegenberg or whatnot. He will get plus 2k for every card in your opponent's damage zone. So he can hit pretty decent numbers. Next up, 4 copies of Emperor Dragon Knight Nahalem from the Legend deck. He is GB1. He becomes an 11k if your Vanguard is an Overlord, which once your GB is active, he will have. Of course, only during your turn. And then also, whenever your Vanguard with Overlord in its card name, or your grade 4 Vanguard with Overlord in its card name swings, he gets an extra 5k. This will also work on a Ziegenberg, so you can use a restanding Vanguard to give him a plus 10k, putting up to 21 in the zone. For the most part, you don't really need a back row in this deck. Your grade 2s are all going to hit numbers to be able to hit. So that's very nice against a Link Joker matchup, because you can just use your Destiny skill to free up one zone, call something, and he's already... And that's just really all you're gonna need, really. Next up, 4 Burning Horn Evolute. He has the same continuous ability as Glow Heater, where he'll get plus 2k for every card in the opponent's damage zone as long as you have a Stride with Overlord in the Stride's name. So he also will get some pretty decent numbers. He is, however, only a 9k, which, 1k less. He's still swinging for 15, 17. He's still really nice. His other skill is non-GB. When he's placed on rearguard, you can Soul Blast 1, reveal an Overlord from your hand, and kill one of your opponent's dudes in the same column as him. So he's really nice for early game retire. You, of course, can't kill a starter with it because it doesn't work on right. I guess you can if you call it behind your Vanguard, use the Conroe skill or call the Conroe to the rear, call him there, kill the starter. It is an option, but he's nice for retires, early game or later game. All the grade 2s hit fairly high numbers. Now for grade 1s, starting with my PG, I use Flare Trooper Dumjin. I do not run the countercharging PG for 2 reasons. First reason, I'm a broke college student. Second reason, because his continuous GB1 skill actually comes in handy quite a bit. I remember one time I was playing against Thavas. I was running really short on cards in hand. I even had a G assist during that game. It was just really bad. However, I was barely able to hold on because I was able to use his GB1 skill, which is if you have another copy of him in the drop zone, he gets plus 15k shield, meaning you can use him as a shield even without using the Perfect Guard skill. So he's just really nice. He helps against rush. I believe he's placed on hand. But he can guard any unit for the PG skill itself. But that continuous ability is honestly really nice. Next, I run 3 copies of Lizard General Conroe. If I got the grade 3, the ends for the deck, I'd probably bump this up to 4. Mainly because you want him to get the ends and to refund the counterblast. He's got the skill of on place, reveal a grade 3 from hand. search your deck for a grade 3 Overlord, add it to hand, and then discard a card. So he's how you'll fix your rides into the Destiny. You can search him out with the starter Conroe, so you can evolve your Conroe. If you have the wrong grade 3, search out the correct one. And the deck is even fine with having Overlord shoved to drop zone, so you can discard that, or you'll probably have like a draw trigger in hand that you can discard. And then his other skill is you can retire himself to choose one of your Overlord Vanguards and give it the red text skill. When it attacks, you countercharge 2. This is not a once per turn ability, which is why the end combo works fairly well, because you just need to retire 1 and you can keep swinging with the end. He also helps with other things like making Ziegenberg almost more than free. Ziegenberg will essentially be plussing you, the Ace also will make his counterblast cost free. In fact, will also still get you an extra countercharge, so we'll refund that as well as an extra 2 countercharge because it's not once per turn. Next, I run 2 copies of Doombringer High Flame. I normally don't actually use him that often. He's probably just like my ride target. He's not a bad card. He's normally ride target or discard for Conroe, the grade 1 Conroe after searching out a grade 3 Overlord. What he does is, on place, choose up to 2 Overlords from your drop zone and return them to deck. If you return 2, you draw a card. So he's really nice for getting a hand. His other ability is, at the beginning of your ride phase, you can sack him, and it'll allow you to stride into an Overlord stride for no cost. So he just sacks himself as the cost of stride, but only into an Overlord stride, so you can't do this into Ziegenberg. Kind of upsetting. I mean, if I could have probably run him at 4 if you could go into like Ziegenberg with that, but he's still fairly nice. Next, 2 copies of Lizard Soldier Belog. He's a 6k skill GB1. When he's placed on Guardian Circle, you choose your Vanguard, and it gets the red text skill till end of battle, that if the attack against him misses, then you get to choose one of your opponent's resting things and retire it. So he's really nice for being able to clear your opponent's board during their turn. And give you a Denial Griffin. You can drop a Denial Griffin and him. You kill the attacker, as well as since the attack did not hit, he'll kill the booster. So you can kill an entire column with that. Also, if they swing at their Vanguard, you can Perfect Guard and then drop him to kill something. He's just really nice for board control during the opponent's turn. Then lastly, for grade 1s, 2 copies of Lava Flow Dragon. He's the Blade Master stride fodder. His sole purpose is stride fodder because, of course, there's no Blade Master in the deck. You can search him out with the Conroe starter, use him to stride instead of discarding an Overlord, so that way you can use it for the Purges skill or any other skill. It's just really nice. Moving on to triggers. 4 copies of Fire Chase Dragon, because it's an effect crit that you can run in this deck. I've never used the skill. He's either for guarding or discarding for like a Conroe or something, or PG. I've never used his skill. However, it's nice to have the option. It's GB1, you retire him during your turn when something in the same column as him on the opponent's side is retired. You can sack him to retire another one in the column. So he can help out to do more board control if the opponent's deck is maybe like one that's really easy to get their board back, like golds. But overall, I've never really used him. He's just crit with an effect. I run a total of 5 draw triggers, 3 Gatling Claw, 2 Steel Dragon Art Peak. Draws are really nice. This deck functions off of a hand. You need a hand to function. It's also relatively easy to get your hand, but if you can't for whatever reason, that's a problem. So 5 draw triggers. It's really nice. These ones are your Margle draw, so you can just shove him to soul, give something 3k. Don't normally use that skill often. He's primarily, of course, just discard for like a PG or whatnot, but he's still nice. Gatling Claw, he is pre-GB, counterblast 1, shove him to soul, kill one of your opponent's grade 0s. So he's nice for starter control, because starters are really good, and he'll kill them for you. Because like a lot of people will actually run starters in deck to try to counter this, or they'll run pre-GB starters because this deck with like the Destiny can on ride kill a starter. This can kill a starter, so people run pre-GB or starters that can use their skill pre-GB to get around this type of stuff. But if you get like the first damage and you can Gatling Claw them, still get rid of the starter, it's really nice. Draw triggers are very important in this deck. I run 3 stand triggers. Inspire Yell Dragon. That's a Blaze stand trigger, so it's got the Blaze ability. And then GB1, when your Vanguard becomes blazing, you can shove him to bottom of deck, give something plus 5k, draw a card, and then shuffle. So he's really nice, can add power to your rear guards if you really need it. He gets you another trigger in deck, so you can get more power that way. Draws you a card to like keep it so you didn't lose anything using his skill. And having another stand is really nice because you can swing at the rear guard, use a skill, power up that rear guard, and then maybe drive check it to stand him. So he essentially gave him plus 10k and a second attack. Lastly, for Dragon Dancer Tara, she is the new heal that most every clan has, except for her, like, as of recording, 4 clans don't have, no, 3 clans don't have this.
That's 4.
No, didn't Bermuda's just get theirs revealed?
It's still 4. Grand Blue, TT, Notocomi, and Palemoon.
Oh, right. Bermuda's was the 5th.
Yeah.
So 4 clans don't have it. But it's when you use this to G-Guard, you can bind itself and any other heal, doesn't matter what heal, so you could run a vanilla if you so desired, or the positive Draco Kid or whatnot, if you want to bind that, and it'll get you either a counter charge or a soul charge. Both of them are actually pretty nice in this deck. It is a decently counterblast heavy deck, which is why a lot of people run Protect Orb as their PG, the unflipping, not PG, G-Guard. No, it is PG. Having fun today. The unflipping PG, but because I don't run that, this is really nice. So like you can have no counterblast, but if you have one of her in there, you can G-Guard into Denial Griffin, bind the 2 of them, and then still pay the cost for Denial Griffin to get the retire off. Because you can use her skill to countercharge first. The soul charge I don't use as often, but it's still really nice since there's skills that do soul blast. Now for the G zone, 1 copy of Axon Grave. He is your backup first stride. So if you don't have the ability to stride and keep an Overlord in hand, you go into him, because so he's got the Blaze ability, and then when he act, counterblast 1, flip up anything from G zone, and he gets red text skill. When he attacks, if he's blazing, then you can retire one of your opponent's rear guards and draw a card. So he's nice for getting resources, board control. He gets you your GB2, but he's not the main first stride. It's only if you can't keep an Overlord in hand and stride.
And it's a yandere.
What?
And it's a yandere.
I mean, sure. You read the flavor text. Next, we're running 3 copies of Dragonic Overlord the Ace. Benefits to him. He's an Overlord, so he gets the power on your other rear guards. So if you run out of your other Overlord stride, if you really need the power, it's like your board's nothing but like Glow Heater and Burning Horn Evolute, you can stride to him. They'll still get the power from the opponent's damage. He's a restander, so he can still give power to Nahalem if you need it. He is Counterblast 2, Persona Flip 1. If you have 2 or more face up in the G zone, he gets Drive -1 and red text. After he attacks, you may discard 1 card with Overlord in its name and 1 of any other card, and he'll restand with plus 5k. So he's a decent restander, relatively high costed, so it's better to go into Ziegenberg if you can. But he does have the Overlord name, which is nice. The reason why you run 3, even though he's a Persona Flipper, is because the skill is not once per turn, and he only gets the Drive -1 if you have 2 or more face up. So if you have 4 damage, you can stride into him, Counterblast 2, flip up a copy, nothing else happens. Counterblast 2, flip up another copy, he gets the Drive -1 and the restand ability. So he can first stride, restand, if you have the Counterblast and are willing to use that much resources. If not, you either you flip up copies of him with Axe Engrave as your first stride, or with the Purge as your first stride. Normally, I'll stride into the Purge, flip up him, then on the second Purge, I'll flip up my Axe Engrave. Moving on, 3 copies. Flare Arm Ziegenberg. He is the other restander, the non-Overlord one, so of course he doesn't give power to the 2 of the rear guards, the grade 2 rear guards, but he's really nice. Blaze, and then Act, Soul Blast 1, Persona Flip, kill an opponent's dude. You don't use that too often, but sometimes you really need to try to clear their board, so that's an option available. I've never really used it, which is why I'm finally running 3 of him, because you're never really going to use all of them. So it's really, he's got GB3. After he attacks, if he's blazing, you can Counterblast 1 and discard cards equal to the number of the opponent's rear guards, and restand him with Drive -2. Really nice card. He's the freest restander, essentially, in the game currently. Because he's essentially just Counterblast restand. Because the deck it's easy to clear your opponent's board because you have your G guards and like Bellog to clear their board during their turn. And then whatever's left, your Overlord stride can kill. And if they still have something left, you can use his skill to kill like the last one. So it's just Counterblast, restand. It's an amazing card. Total of 4 drive checks. It's nice. Next up, the main first stride of the deck. 2 copies of the Purge. I've seen some people argue because it's such a great card that you should run 4 of it. Don't. He's first off, he's too expensive. So I mean, if you want to show off money, you can go the route of 4 purges, 4 drachmas, flipping up a drachma with each purge, really just show off that wealth. But for the most part, you only need 2 of them, because he's your first stride. To use his first skill, just act, flip up something from G zone, choose an Overlord from hand, shove it to soul, dealing damage to the opponent, trigger effects nullified. So he needs to just deal them a damage. So he's the first stride if you can, like if you have an Overlord. Sometimes you may still want to take the risk of going into him in hopes the on-stride skill gives you an Overlord. But if you need to do that, that's normally when I go into Accent Grave. His other skill is GB3. His drive check is equal to the opponent's damage. So if your opponent's at 5 damage, GB3 is active, he gets 5 drive checks. Which is really nice, especially when you can shove like your stand triggers back into the deck to get more trigger checking. He gets you your hand back. If you're running low, he'll just replenish your entire hand because you'll probably also hit a draw trigger. So he's just really nice. You never need to go into him more than twice. Like, there are occasional times I'll want to go into him a third time, but for the most part, you can just go into a Ziegenberg and you're fine. Next, I have 1 copy of the GB8 Blazing Burst Dragon. I rarely ever go into this guy. The game's normally over before I hit GB8. But his skill is when he attacks the Vanguard, you retire all of your opponent's rear guards, and then your rear guards get plus 10k. And then if you retired 3 or more, he himself gets plus 10k in a crit. I've never really, like, anytime I've gotten to GB8, they've never had enough cards on board to really make him worth it. So I just go into like another Ziegenberg. But it's still nice to have. Move on to G-Guards. G-Guards. 2 copies of Denial Griffin. He is the best G-Guard, the entire clan. Like, when he's placed, Counterblast 1, kill the attacking rear guard. Really nice for board control, stopping your opponent from doing stuff. Like a deck set restand rear guards, it's really nice. You just kill the rear guard, and you don't have to worry about it attacking a second time. It's really nice. Not much else to say. Absalom, 1 copy of Absalom. He's Counterblast 1 when he's placed and their Vanguard is attacking your Vanguard. He gets plus 10k shield for every open circle they have. They probably have 2. About 2, maybe 3. He can make a lot of strides, no pass, just on his own. It's really nice giant numbers for guarding. 1 defeat flare, because it's an Overlord deck, and if they have resist in the back row, it's nice. Like against Neo Nectar, they use Wilhelmina. You guard after they use a Neon attack skill, so Wilhelmina calls them a whole new board. Drop this, kill the back row, even if it has resist, because it all has resist. So it's nice. Decreases their numbers, helps you out. He's Counterblast. Choose 2 grade 3 or greater Overlords from your drop zone, put them at the bottom of your deck, and it kills their back row when their Vanguard is attacking yours. So you always need to make sure you have like 2 Overlords sitting there at drop zone, so you have that option. And then 1 of the Flipper G-Guard. I've seen a lot of people argue against using him for just like running another Denial Griffin. I like him a lot for matchups like Blasters, because that's an annoying matchup. So he's on place, Soul Blast 1, flip up a G-Guard, and then you choose when your opponent's grade 1 or less resting rear guards and retire it. So the way Vanguard works, because it has the turn player priority, if your opponent like you can't necessarily like use Belog to kill something like a Flogel crit or whatnot, because it's standing again, or like it's gone into the deck before you can kill it. This guy is just on place, kill the Flogel, you don't get to restand that Blaster Blade. So it's really nice. And of course, lastly, the one copy of Drachma, because, well, I can. There's a lot of times that I have essentially gone into this against one person when I'm using this deck. Well, two people. Total of two people I've ever actually, like, while using this deck, I've ever actually gone into this on. Once because I was almost decking out against blue waves, and then the other, well, was against the guy who has multiple decks like Chaos and whatnot.
Shout out to Albert.
Yeah, shout out to Albert. He is arguably the worst ZR, but it's still nice to have him in here as an option for if you really need to. Sometimes I'll just like flip him with a purge, or occasionally I've considered G-assisting him away. So he's not necessary in the deck, but he's still fairly nice. On place, Counterblast 2, retire all of your opponent's units, including the Vanguard, and bind them face up. And then he chooses 3 cards from hand, rides one of them, discards the other 2. So for the most part, he's going to be a board wipe and a discard 3. That's about it, because a lot of times if you're playing a Kagero deck or a Dragon Empire deck, they're going to keep a grade 3 in hand just in case you go into this. So the most part, it's just a board wipe and they discard 3, which isn't that great because after his turn you lose your G-Zone, which is a big downside. But a lot of times, if you use it while they have little cards in hand, even if they had a grade 3 in hand, they'll have a hard time like guarding your numbers, because you can still have like decent numbers. Like your Nahalims will still be a 16k attacker if you swing with him first. And then you're probably still going to hit like stand triggers. So it's not bad. Probably not, like, unless they have low cards in hand, you're probably not going to win on this turn. But then they'll be so low on resources normally that they can't do a humongous push, that your just normal attacks will finish them off during the next turn. But he's not really necessary. You could take him out for another Purge or Ziegenberg, maybe even another Denial Griffin. He's not that useful, but he's come in handy every now and then. And yeah, that would be my Overlord deck profile.